China just ignited a $1.8 billion fire in the U.S. China tech war. Xiaomi's Xring O1, a 3nm mobile chip, launched on May 22, 2025, in Beijing. Built to rival Qualcomm and Apple, this chip isn't just a piece of silicon. It's a declaration of defiance, aiming to break China's reliance on American tech. But with U.S. sanctions tightening and global tech ecosystems fracturing, this is a high-stakes gamble that could either propel China to tech independence or crumble into a fragile mirage. This is the fault line shaking your digital world. Welcome to Tech Fault Line, where we expose the cracks threatening your future. On May 22, 2025, Xiaomi took the stage in Beijing to unveil the Xring O1, its first in-house 3nm mobile chip, in front of 5,000 attendees and millions watching online. This powerhouse chip drives the Xiaomi 15S Pro smartphone and Pad 7 Ultra tablet, packing 19 billion transistors into a 10-core CPU, 2 Cortex-X 925 cores clocked at 3.9 GHz for peak performance, 6 Cortex-A 725 cores for efficiency, and 2 Cortex-A 520 cores for background tasks. Xiaomi boasts its scores over 3 million on AnTuTu, outpacing Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite by 8% and edging Apple's A18 Pro in multi-core Geekbench tests with scores of 3,000 single-core and 9,000 multi-core. This $1.8 billion project, spanning 4 years and involving 2,500 engineers, is a direct challenge to U.S. tech dominance. Xiaomi's Xring O1 isn't a one-off. It's part of a broader strategy to rival Apple's vertical integration. For years, Xiaomi relied on Qualcomm chips, but U.S. sanctions on Huawei sent a wake-up call. In 2021, Xiaomi launched its $200 billion Smart Future R&D plan, aiming to control its hardware and software stack by 2030. The Xring O1, built on TSMC's second-gen 3nm process, is the crown jewel, paired with Xiaomi's HyperOS, a lightweight alternative to Android that cuts bloat by 30%. Xiaomi's CEO Lei Jun declared at the launch, "We're not just building chips, we're building China's tech future." But with HyperOS still lacking global app support, Xiaomi's independence dream hinges on this chip's success. Let's dive into what makes the Xring O1 tick. Its 10-core CPU delivers a 100x AI performance boost over Xiaomi's older chips, thanks to a dedicated NPU handling 40 trillion operations per second. Perfect for real-time AI tasks like photo enhancement and voice recognition. The 16-core Adreno GPU pushes 120 frames per second gaming on titles like Genshin Impact, with 20% less heat than Snapdragon 8 Elite during stress tests. The chip also cuts power use by 25%, extending battery life on the 15S Pro to 18 hours of heavy use. But there's a catch. It lacks an integrated 5G modem, relying on an external X75 modem, which adds cost and power draw. Xiaomi's betting big on raw power, but is it enough? The U.S. China chip war has been a slow burn since 2019, when the U.S. blacklisted Huawei, cutting off access to American chips and TSMC's advanced nodes. China fought back with a $150 billion semiconductor push under Made in China 2025. Aiming to slash foreign chip reliance to under 30% by this year. Huawei's 7nm Kirin 9000 in 2020 was a milestone, but U.S. sanctions blocked 3nm access, forcing Huawei to rely on SMIC's inferior tech. Xiaomi's Xring O1, built on TSMC's 3nm node, is a breakthrough, yet it exposes China's Achilles heel: dependence on foreign supply chains in a war where the U.S. controls the tech choke points. The Xring O1 isn't just a chip, it's a tech war flashpoint. It threatens Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite and Apple's A18 Pro, challenging their dominance in the $50 billion mobile chip market, where Qualcomm holds a 31% share. For China, it's a leap toward tech independence. Xiaomi wants to mirror Apple's closed ecosystem, controlling chips, devices, and software. But the US is striking back, Rumored sanctions on Chinese tech firms in June 2025 could target TSMC, cutting Xiaomi off from its 3-nanometer lifeline. If China gains ground, it could set global chip standards, but a U.S. crackdown might cripple its momentum, deepening the tech Cold War. For consumers, the Xring O1 is a double-edged sword. The Xiaomi 15S Pro, retailing at $764, offers flagship performance. Its 6.7-inch OLED display hits 3,200 nits, and the Pad 7 Ultra's 14-inch OLED stuns with 144 Hz refresh rates. It runs cooler than rivals, with 20% less heat during 4K video editing, and delivers 18 hours of battery life. But it's China only. Global users must import, facing no Google services, no Android Auto, and spotty warranties. Worse, the chip lacks 5G support outside China, limiting its appeal. Economically, markets are rattled. Global tech investments fell 15% in Q4 2024, and U.S. sanctions could spike chip prices, hitting your wallet. Your tech ecosystem might split, with Western apps on one side and Chinese devices on the other. Consumer reactions are a mixed bag. In China, the 15S Pro sold 1 million units in its first 48 hours, with fans on Weibo praising its butter-smooth performance and insane AI camera. But global users importing the device are frustrated. X posts highlight the lack of Google Play, with one user, at TechGuru88, Zrania ranting, "No 5G, no Google, no thanks." Others love the price. $764 undercuts the iPhone 16 Pro by $235, but the lack of global support has sparked a backlash. Xiaomi's betting on China's 600 million strong user base, but alienating global fans could cost them. Your tech experience might be a gamble, depending on where you live. Xiaomi's Xring O1 has glaring vulnerabilities. It relies on TSMC's 3-nanometer node and ARM's Cortex designs. Both are pressure points for U.S. sanctions. If TSMC is cut off, Xiaomi would fall back to SMIC's 7-nanometer tech, slashing performance by 30%. The chip's external 5G modem adds cost and power draw, a weak spot compared to Qualcomm and MediaTek's integrated designs. China's chip ecosystem lags. SMIC trails TSMC by years, and U.S. export controls block advanced tools like EUV machines. X users are divided. Some call it a tech independence win, while others label it a rebranded ARM chip. Xiaomi's $200 billion R&D plan shows grit, but the U.S. holds the upper hand. History paints a grim picture for tech defiance. In 2019, Huawei's chip dreams were shattered by U.S. sanctions, costing $100 billion in revenue as it scrambled for alternatives. The Soviet Union's 1980s bid to reverse engineer IBM mainframes failed to keep pace, collapsing under economic pressure. The 1986 U.S.-Japan Semiconductor Agreement pushed Japan out of chip dominance, shifting innovation to South Korea and costing Japan $20 billion in market share. Each time, tech defiance met a harsh reality: sanctions, supply chain control, and global isolation. Xiaomi's Xring O1 could defy the odds or become another footnote in tech war history. Xiaomi's counterattack is fierce. The Xring O1's 10-core CPU and 16-core GPU deliver a 100x AI performance boost over Xiaomi's older chips, with its NPU handling 40 trillion operations per second. Perfect for AI-driven features like real-time translation and photo editing. The 15S Pro rivals the iPhone 16 Pro in multi-core tests, and the Pad 7 Ultra's 144 Hz OLED display stuns creators. Xiaomi's $1.8 billion investment, backed by 2,500 engineers, is part of a broader Chinese push. Beijing wants to lead chip innovation, with SMIC aiming for 5 nanometers by 2026. If Xiaomi succeeds, it could flood markets with high-performance, low-cost devices, undercutting U.S. tech giants on their home turf. The Xring O1 is shaking global markets. In Asia, Xiaomi's market share jumped to 18% in Q1 2025, trailing only Samsung, as low-cost Xring-powered devices gain traction. But in the US, Qualcomm and Apple are lobbying for tougher sanctions. Rumors of a June 2025 crackdown on TSMC could disrupt global chip supply chains, as Bloomberg reported on May 21, 2025. Europe's caught in the middle. EU regulators are probing Xiaomi for potential market dumping, fearing a flood of cheap devices. If China dominates, it could control 40% of the $50 billion mobile chip market by 2030. But a US-led backlash might isolate Chinese tech, splitting global markets further. The Xring O1 could deepen the fractured tech future. If Xiaomi scales this chip, China could seize 40% of the $50 billion mobile chip market, reducing reliance on Qualcomm and MediaTek. But US sanctions might force Xiaomi back to SMIC's 7nm tech, slashing performance and competitiveness. A bifurcated tech world is accelerating. Western ecosystems with Google services on one side, Chinese devices with HyperOS on the other, as seen with Huawei's 1 billion devices. Your apps, devices, and digital life could be locked into one side of this tech Cold War, Western or Chinese, with innovation racing, but global unity crumbling. Xiaomi's 1.8 billion Xring O1 chip is a daring defiance of US sanctions in the tech war, a beacon of China's tech independence. But history warns of failure, and the US is poised to strike back. With global markets splitting and supply chains on the brink, this fault line could fracture the tech landscape for good. Your gadgets, your apps, your future, they're all at stake. If this shook you, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, will Xiaomi's chip outsmart the US or flop? We're back tomorrow with the next tech crisis on Tech Fault Line.